My name is Ana Molero, and I'm the Chief Government Officer at Teach for All, and it's a pleasure to be here today and share my journey and also the work that we do with you all. And I have to say that it's very difficult for me to be at the heart of Brussels and not to think about the future of the European Union. And you know, it's top of the agenda. It has come a lot to the day today. But think about the European project. The European project is one of the extraordinary examples of collective leadership for all that it took to get built, right? If you think about all the people that was involved in the creation of the European project, you might think about the visionaries who had the first idea, the high-level politicians who were enabling it, the technocrats and the bureaucrats that were keeping the engine moving, and people like me, the European citizens, who were actually sharing values and bridging cultures. And I tend to say that me, myself, I'm a product of that European dream or that collective vision. And I'm Spanish, I'm also Catalan, and I'm also European. And when I was a child, I could see the impact that the European Union was having in my country, in Spain, since 1986, when we joined the European Union. And my country changed to be a more prosperous country, a more cohesive and a more inclusive country, and a more peaceful country as well. So that's why when I was very young, not now, I decided to join one of the flagship European Commission programs. I did an Erasmus. I studied abroad to meet my peer and my colleagues in Italy, for instance, in this case. And also when I was 20, I decided to come to Brussels and to do European Union studies and work at the European Commission, which is just here around the corner. But I'm not only a European citizen, I'm also a citizen of the world. And that's what prompted me to join this global movement that is building leaders across all levels of the education sector. And that is what we do at Teach for All. Actually, Teach for All is a global network of 49 national organizations that are galvanizing the future generation of leaders across the globe. We're asking them to commit for 2 years, teaching in the most under-resourced communities in their countries. And we hope, and it happens in 80% of the cases, that after these 2 years, this is such a transformative journey that they decide to stay and work in the education sector to make sure that kids have the opportunity to fulfill their potential. And I mean, I'm very excited to be here with you all today because I know that the education challenge and the learning crisis is really huge. This is my only realistic, pessimistic kind of slide, right? We know that we've done a lot to achieve an enrollment in primary education, which is universal. But then when we think about the kids who are attending school, are they really learning? Are they having a quality education? And you can see all these stats here. Probably you know them better than me. But yeah, there are millions of kids that are not learning actually in schools. And if you think about the root causes, like why aren't they learning? And I think some of the panelists have already said that. There are plenty of issues, like from high levels of poverty, not enough health or nutrition systems, not enough innovation in policies, conflicts, natural disasters. And we really believe about this picture here. That was in the World Development Report 2018 of the World Bank. It was the first time that the World Bank was devoting a report to education in 2018. Can you imagine? Like it is kind of like crazy, like it took us years to have one. But when it was released last year, we really agreed with this picture. These pictures represent what we believe, right? Like we're gonna need so many leaders, so many change makers at all the levels of the ecosystem that is surrounding kids and learning, from policymakers to politicians and others. Oh yeah, I have it here. So, and that's not gonna be easy, right? Like having leaders in all this coalition and all these pieces of the ecosystem around kids is not gonna be easy. It's gonna take time, it's gonna take resources. But at Teach for All, we believe that this is possible. And we call it collective leadership, actually. That's the name that we gave it. And actually, I'm going to explain a little bit why we call it collective leadership and the 3 ingredients that we think it entails. The first ingredient for the recipe is that we will need to work together with many stakeholders in this ecosystem. teachers are not the only ones. We cannot leave them alone just doing the work, and I'm looking at Elisa here, but also Kun. We need to have also policymakers, social entrepreneurs, many other people working with them in order to improve the education system. And this is the case of Kim. Kim Sabria, who is this gentleman in the picture, he comes from the same city as me. He comes from Barcelona. He's an engineer by, he finished college in engineer, and then when he finished, he turned down so many offers from the corporate sector, multinationals wanting to hire him, and he decided to commit 2 years to teach in the most underprivileged area outside at the outskirts of Barcelona. And when he finished, he said, like, I want to spend the rest of my career working to solve all of these inequities that I have been seeing. So he has launched this tech platform where teachers and students can upload their interactive content. And right now, it's been used by more than 1 million teachers in more than 150 countries. So yeah, an entrepreneur who is like working together with others in order to do that. The second ingredient for the recipe of collective leadership is that we also need to include in this coalition those who have actually themselves experienced the inequities that we are trying to solve, right? Like, we want this coalition to be really diverse. And this is, for instance, the case of Maja. Maja Lasic, here in the picture, she escaped the war and the conflict in former Yugoslavia, and she found refuge in Germany. And again, she decided to enlist in Teach First Deutschland, which is Teach for Germany. And she was teaching in a community with high level of migrants and refugees. And when she finished, she also thought, like, where is the best place where I can use my energy? And she's now a parliamentarian at the Berlin Parliament. And she's actually in the committee that's drafting policies and programs in order to support migrants and refugee kids going into Germany and Berlin more specifically. And the third ingredient, I mean, I'm sure there are many more, but just like summarizing, the third one is in order to develop this collective leadership for systemic change in education, we need to create the spaces where all these leaders can connect, can build relationships. And this is sort of like a community-driven approach, right, with all the members of the community. And let me bring the case of Najin, with some of you know. Najin Paul is the CEO and the founder of Teach for Haiti, which is Enseigne pour Haïti in Creole. And before launching Teach for Haiti, she spent literally 3 years going community by community and asking the leaders of the communities, the teachers, the parents, what do we want to be true for our kids when they are 25? And just go backwards from there. And this is how she's routing her program, actually. The way she's recruiting the teachers, the way she's placing them, the way she's fundraising, it's all around this like community-driven approach. So that's what we do at Teach for All, as I was saying, like develop collective leadership, enlisting top graduates from whatever discipline to teach in the most under-resourced communities for 2 years, and then support them in their leadership journey to become change makers at all levels of the education system. Right now, we have in the network, the global network, 60,000 change makers, or alumni, as we call them. And we hope to grow that number to 100,000 in a few years. And one of the most interesting things, or where we ask them, like, what is good about like collective leadership is that they are connected, right? Like, they are not working in isolation, but they are sharing best practices, so they are accelerating the impact at growing at a faster pace. Let me finish by saying that a couple of years ago, we embarked into this sometimes painful process of doing a strategic plan and creating this like 25-year vision. But we're very proud of the result because we involve all these folks that I was talking about, this coalition of actors. And our vision for 2040 was that communities in every part of the world are creating the collective leadership that enable all children to have the opportunity to create a better future for themselves, but also for all of us. And I know this is a very ambitious vision, but so it was the European project, right? Like, okay, could you have imagined so many years ago that that would be created? And we think there's a path to that. And I'm just feeling encouraged today with so many people, but we need to create the ecosystem that will enable the leaders, the entrepreneurs, the teachers to actually succeed in this mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anne.